They shot my most precious mini horse dead right in front of me, blood splattering across the saddle hooves, frozen in mid-gallop. In my own farmyard, 5 armed contractors stepping forward stone-faced, while she, the woman in the crisp white blazer, just stood there with a cold, almost satisfied smile. "I'm the HOA president," she said, "and I authorized them to eliminate any diseased animals." But she didn't know the worst part. Thunder, that horse, was the one her son had spent 4 years training his whole world, and what I had in my hands that morning could bring her family, her whole HOA empire, crashing down. Because the cameras ringing my farm caught every single moment. Let me back up a second because you need to know where this all started for it to make any sense. That morning had been like any other Tuesday out here in Meadowbrook Estates. I was by the old fence line, the one Dad built, replacing a post that had been rotting out and bugging me for weeks. The hammer felt solid in my grip, a little connection to my father that I needed badly, since it had only been 3 months since the accident took both my parents and left me alone with a stack of memories in this horse farm. The work was the only thing drowning out thoughts of unpaid bills and mounting HOA complaints about property standards. Then out of nowhere, that gunshot tore through the air, so sharp and violent that I dropped my hammer and spun around, heart pounding. I saw Thunder, my beautiful chestnut mini horse, the very heart of our whole operation, lying there in the yard, blood pooling under him, dirt turning dark where he'd been grazing not 5 minutes earlier. My sanctuary suddenly felt like a war zone. 5 men in tactical gear appeared from behind the barn, rifles in hand, faces hidden behind sunglasses, even though the sky was cloudy, moving like they'd rehearsed this 100 times. The biggest guy kept his weapon ready as they surrounded Thunder's body. It was like something out of a bad movie. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I yelled, anger and shock making my voice crack. I barely got a step before the lead guy raised a hand. One look at his posture told me if I pushed, I'd be next. My legs felt like rubber, but I stayed standing, the smell of gunpowder and blood mixing with hay and manure. That's when she stepped out from behind a black SUV, Victoria Thornfield. She moved like she owned the place, her hair pulled back, severe blazer, spotless portfolio in hand, smile cold as glass. Behind her, barely visible, was a teenage boy with eyes fixed on Thunder, looking like he'd seen a ghost. "Mr. Winchester, I presume," she said, voice smooth from years of country clubs and board meetings. She flashed a document under my nose, thick with seals and stamps. "I'm Victoria Thornfield, president of the Meadowbrook Estates Homeowners Association. These contractors are authorized to address a public health emergency." She sounded in control, but I caught something in her tone, maybe a crack, a little desperation. The document was full of legal nonsense, communicable equine diseases, community protection, all that. None of it made sense. Thunder was perfectly healthy. "This is insane," I snapped, voice steadying. "Thunder wasn't sick, and you can't just kill people's animals on fake paperwork." Victoria arched an eyebrow, acting shocked. "Mr. Winchester, this was issued by qualified veterinary authorities after extensive testing," she said. "Photographic evidence, documented symptoms, expert testimony about risks to the community." She rattled it off like she was reading a script, but her eyes flickered. The boy behind her shifted hands, shaking. The lead contractor piped up, "Sir, we're here through the HOA's emergency response program. No law enforcement is needed for this, but we do have proper authorization for wildlife and livestock management in this district." His words sounded rehearsed too, like he was reciting lines from a bad play. Real animal control would have had badges, official trucks, not this. I looked at Thunder's body and felt something inside me crack. This wasn't about HOA power or property lines anymore. It was about my last link to my dad's legacy. "I want to see your licenses," I demanded. "Proof you can discharge firearms on private land without police." Victoria's smile twitched. "I understand you're upset, but this is beyond your authority now. Any interference could have serious legal consequences." There was a real threat behind that cool tone. The boy made a little noise, a whimper, and when I looked at him, tears were streaming down his cheeks. That hit me harder than anything Victoria said. I saw my own grief mirrored in his face, the kind of pain that comes from losing something irreplaceable. "Who's the kid?" I asked. Victoria stiffened. "My son Mason. He's just here to observe protocol." But Mason's grief wasn't protocol. It was heartbreak. As they wrapped Thunder's body in a clean tarp too careful for disease control, I saw Mason mouth, I'm sorry, before Victoria grabbed him and pushed him into their SUV. I'll never forget his face pressed against that window, tears pouring down, watching Thunder disappear. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw Thunder fall in Mason's devastated face. Something about that grief was too raw for a routine intervention. Around 2 a.m., I heard the barn door creak. Grabbing my flashlight, I crept outside and found Mason sitting in Thunder's empty stall, shoulders shaking, clutching the horse's old halter. "Hey," I said softly. He jumped eyes wide, looking younger than I'd thought, maybe 16, maybe younger, blotchy from crying. He started stuttering out apologies, saying he shouldn't be here. He held up the halter. Thunder's nameplate was on it. "Thunder was your horse," I said. He nodded, wiping his nose. "I trained him for almost 2 years," Mason choked out. "Mom doesn't know. She thinks I quit after Emma died." I remembered the Thornfield family's tragedy, a girl killed in a riding accident. Mason's voice got stronger as he talked about his sister. "Emma taught me everything," he said. "Thunder was my shot at nationals, my memorial ride for her. Now he's gone. Mom's been getting pressure from some weird people, men in suits talking about money and projects. She got a call yesterday, freaked out, started talking about cleaning up loose ends. I think someone told her about Thunder." He pulled out a USB drive from his backpack. "I recorded Thunder's training for the competition. There's more on here, video, of those men. Mom counting cash, her talking about eliminating complications. I started recording everything. I took the drive, hands shaking. Mason, this could destroy your mom's reputation. Maybe put her in prison. Are you sure?" He looked at me with eyes way older than his years. "She killed the only thing I had left of my sister. She murdered my dreams. Emma always said sometimes you have to choose between being loyal and being right." As he left, climbing over the fence and melting into the night, I realized I wasn't just holding a memory stick. I was holding the key to a mystery way bigger than one dead horse. The next morning, I uploaded my security footage, no fancy edits, just raw video of Thunder's execution and Victoria standing by, stone-faced. Within hours, the video blew up 50,000 views, by lunch 1 million by sunset. The comments exploded, "Animal abuse, sue her," but alongside support came slick accounts defending the HOA, pushing a diseased animal story. Classic PR spin. Someone was doing damage control and fast. By the next day, Victoria launched her counterattack. News outlets painted me as a rogue livestock owner. Neighbors I'd known for decades started looking at me sideways. Then came the legal papers. Victoria and the HOA were suing me for $2 million, plus Sheriff Davis brought a warrant to seize all my security equipment as evidence. Watching deputies load up my cameras, I felt my lifeline to the truth disappear. That's when I called Jake Morrison, my old college buddy, now a lawyer. Jake's the type who trusts nobody, a real skeptic, and perfect for this. He arrived with a mountain of paperwork. "Caleb, none of this adds up. HOA revenues can't cover this. That shell company, it's a Delaware front. They're laundering money through HOA fees, over $200K last month alone." He showed me emails Operation Destroy That Horse guy sent from a PR firm to Victoria's address, outlining narrative management and neutralization. Every resident who'd challenged the HOA in the last 2 years faced similar treatment, lawsuits, property violations, forced sales. It was systematic. But the biggest shocker was the contractor payments. The same firm that shot Thunder did pest control in 6 other states, always when a troublesome resident got forced out. "You stumbled into something huge," Jake told me. "Thunder died because your farm was threatening their operation." Just as we started to put the pieces together, I got a text. "Stop digging or face the consequences. Some horses aren't the only things that can disappear." Jake paled. "This isn't just Victoria. We're dealing with pros." Jake got to work calling in favors with federal contacts and hired Dr. Rebecca Santos, a top equine vet, to examine the paperwork. Her verdict: completely fake, wrong horse, forged symptoms. And the vet who signed it lost his license for fraud. Even worse, the vet got a $15,000 transfer from the shell company 2 days before Thunder died. This wasn't grief. This was a hit job. While Jake handled legal, Mason was waging his own war online. He posted a raw video, stutter and all. "My name is Mason Thornfield. The woman who ordered my horse killed is my mother. Thunder wasn't diseased. He was my shot at healing." The video went viral, trending everywhere. Support poured in. Equestrian communities, strangers, even other Meadowbrook residents started speaking out about Victoria's intimidation tactics. The cost, though, was heavy. Victoria snapped, showing up at my farm in front of live news crews screaming, "You turned my son against me." It was meltdown TV. Her logic unhinged all pain and denial. Meanwhile, Jake dropped the motherlode documents showing financial fraud emails plotting intimidation, and Mason's audio recordings of Victoria talking about eliminating problems. Finally, even the local sheriff announced the feds were involved. That week, the HOA called an emergency meeting. So many residents showed up, they had to move it to the high school gym, cops standing by for security. Mason sent a statement, "I forgive my mother, but forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences. Thunder and our community deserve better." It was the first time in ages I saw hope in people's faces, just as it looked like Victoria might finally go down. The real twist hit. FBI Special Agent Chen arrived at my farm with a team. Turns out Mason had been their inside source for months, documenting everything. Agent Chen showed us a map, red pins for HOAs infiltrated by this laundering network from Florida to Oregon, all following the same pattern: sudden cash intimidation, then silence. "It's not just about Thunder," she said. "It's about millions laundered through community enhancement projects," and Victoria was a regional player. Then Agent Rodriguez, their computer whiz, found the link to the Castellano crime family organized crime using HOAs as suburban ATMs. Suddenly everything, the threats, the fast legal moves, the relentless PR, clicked into place. Thunder died because Victoria's breakdown was threatening a multi-state operation. When the FBI raided Victoria's house, Mason watched as they led his mother away in cuffs. Within hours, agents took down 12 other HOA officials and seized millions. Victoria, facing life for racketeering, cut a deal she'd testify against her handlers in exchange for a lighter sentence, claiming she'd only gotten involved after they threatened Mason post-Emma's death. It took months for the full case to unravel. 47 arrests, $80 million seized, and the network dismantled. Victoria got 12 years in federal prison, but in the end, her cooperation brought down the whole house of cards. 6 months later, Mason and I opened Emma's Hope Therapeutic Writing Center using settlement money to build something good from all that loss. Our first student was a little girl named Sophie. Scared of horses, Mason knelt and told her, "Sometimes what scares us helps us heal." The mini horse he picked for her wasn't Thunder, but Lightning, a rescue with scars and heart. As Mason prepped for his first competition since Thunder's death, I asked him, "Do you think Thunder knows his death meant something?" He smiled, loading Lightning into the trailer, and I realized the answer was written in every child our center helped. Thunder's legacy wasn't death, it was rebirth. Sometimes the most powerful justice is found in the lives rebuilt after tragedy. Now I've got to ask, have you ever had to risk everything for what's right, or found strength you didn't know you had even when it meant letting go? Share your story. In the comments, your experience could be the light someone else needs to get through. If this story hit you, give it a like, subscribe to Happer Stories, and stick around, because sometimes a happy ending is just a new beginning in disguise.